Welcome back to Lift You Up Inspiring Health Stories. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham. I'm the founder and chief storyteller of TB Media Group, but for the purpose of this podcast, I am your health and happiness matchmaker. Now, before I introduce you to today's guests, I'm going to ask you to do, if you haven't already, hit subscribe on YouTube, turn on those notifications, and connect with me on LinkedIn because I'd love to stay connected with you. Now, today you are going to meet a company by the name of Earth and Star. They are a functional mushroom company. I actually haven't heard of that before, and I learned so much during this episode about functional mushrooms, what they are, we're going to break that down, and how they can benefit your health. Our physical, mental, and emotional health is not just a want. It is a need for happy lives and prosperous businesses. Lift You Up is the podcast where we share inspiring health stories from business owners who are fulfilling their purpose to live their healthiest lives and helping you do the same. From former TV reporter to marketing entrepreneur and content creator, I care about sharing stories that matter and stories that connect us. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, your health and wellness matchmaker. Well, today I am so excited to meet virtually, as we all do in this world nowadays, right? Erica and Zoe, who are the co-founders of Earth and Star. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Good to be here.
Nice to meet you both. I'm so excited to learn more about the both of you and what you do with your business. But first, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do. I mean, I know that's a big question, but give us a little bit of the background. Zoe, I'll start with you.
Erica and I started Blueprint Cleanse / Juice back in 2007. So we've been work wives for a very long time, for decades now. And this is our second venture together. So Blueprint was like the first green juice, cold pressed juice cleanse detox program. And then we have since moved from the plant kingdom to the fungi kingdom.
Zoe skipped over the part where we also started a podcast, which, it's not really a full venture, but it's like our second and a half project. We do still have a podcast.
I always
I know, and it's our little step baby.
What's the podcast about?
It's called Highway to Well, and the idea is just really to kind of do what you're doing. Let's have super frank conversations that are fun but also informative. We like to call it infotainment, and really just to kind of dig deeper into questions around wellness, because we truly believe that it should be something that is, the information should be available to everybody. It should be as democratic as possible, in the same way that we think, mushrooms can serve to benefit everybody, and we're trying to make them approachable. Same thing with what we did with Blueprint around green juice. It's really the idea of just presenting things that are kind of, effective, but maybe a little mysterious from the wellness world, and, make it a little bit more digestible for a mass audience. So I was working in PR actually before Zoe and I jumped off and started Blueprint. And, I think I speak for both of us when I say we are true, wellness seekers by heart, and always really excited about trying new things and finding what's cool and interesting, and really translating it in a way that makes it, more fun and more approachable to everybody.
I feel like health and happiness is something that is so key for all of us, whether we're building businesses, wanting to strengthen our communities. Like, it's really a requirement for all of us. And I think we really saw that. If people didn't realize that before, it was like really shoved in our face at the onset of the pandemic. So just wanting to have those conversations and how good health really strengthens everything in our lives. Tell me how you ended up teaming up to say, hey, we want to work together and build a business together.
Well, we were. This goes back literally 20 years at this point, which is terrifying. But we were at the Hudson Hotel in New York City. And we were friends for a couple of years. At the time, Zoe was a raw foodist as her, lifestyle. And it was definitely something I was not familiar with, as was the case for most of us. And so she did a lot of, educating and informing and answering questions for all of us that were curious about what she was up to. I was always super interested and excited about, just the concept of wellness. I was a dancer most of my life and was in showbiz before I moved over into the world of hospitality. And So the idea of using food as medicine, food as fuel was not completely foreign to me, but this was a world, raw food and juicing was not something that I was familiar with. And fast forward a couple of years, she had really gone deep into this world of, understanding the benefits of cleansing and detox concepts. And, she went to Puerto Rico to the Ann Wigmore Institute to kind of really immerse herself in it. And the hypothesis coming back was, why should somebody have to completely remove themselves from their lives in order to reap the benefits of something that's actually pretty simple? How do I get this out into the world in a way that makes it feel friendlier? And the more we talked, she was asking about, ideas around press and marketing and, I need a press release and all that kind of thing. And it just really sort of made sense that, we had complementary skill sets. We both had a really united sense of passion and enthusiasm around this whole concept. And I, for myself, was certainly not, tethered to the idea of working in a PR agency for the rest of my career. I was really using it as a stepping stone to figure out where I wanted to go next. And so it never, people often say, like, did you guys feel, what was it like taking that huge risk? And I always say it never felt like a risk. It just felt like exactly what we had to do. And there was nothing really even scary about it. It was just like, no, this makes total sense and this is going to go.
I love that, because for me, starting my business, it felt like a total risk. I definitely didn't have that feeling, but it's always nice to hear those different perspectives. Zoe, do you feel the same about, starting the business together, that it felt like it just felt right?
That time in your life, I was like in my mid-20s and I was just like, oh God, I just spent all this time studying, communications and production and sort of this world of TV and at school. And, I would be in my bedroom and like look around and I would have like, the books that I was supposed to be diving into were like 3 stacks high. And then I had all of these books of like, information around enzymes and like mitochondria, and I was like, why do I keep like, I'm more interested in that, and I kept finding that I just kept, was constantly pulled back into that lane. And so, yeah, there was just like a very natural, obvious pull that it was kind of like undeniable at a certain point. Right. And I think, when you're passionate about something, because you're not interested in anything else. So it just felt very obvious.
I read that both of you started your first business and to sale in 5 years.
That's correct.
That's correct. Yeah, we did. We sold it in 2012. I think the first, I would say summer of 2006 was like a pretty beta moment for me testing it. And then we officially launched in like January 2007. But yeah, all things considered, in the world of food and beverage CPG, that's kind of like the dream, timeline. And now, we know how uncommon it is with our second business. It's like, oh yeah, that was nice.
That was a unicorn covered in sprinkles that we didn't realize.
Yeah. It was just such rapid growth because we essentially created a category, right? It's not like, it really took off. So yeah, we're really fortunate to not have to. We also never raised money, so that was another feather in our cap. We're like, oh, we dodged all of these hurdles that are usually, so typical for pretty much any business, but it's a good model.
And what do you attribute the success of that first business to?
I think it was, it was an interesting time, right? So it was 2007 when we first launched. This is before social media, which is hard to believe thinking about it now, when social media, the definition of social media was like talking to your friend through a phone. That was the media. But word of mouth was just really, really powerful for us. And I think it was something that once you were able to get over that hurdle of you're asking me to stop eating and drink what for how long, and getting over that initial fear factor, it really certainly, nobody could argue that it did make you feel amazing. You could really feel the results of what, this massive kind of lifestyle swap, even though temporary, could do for you. And I think anybody who goes through that experience, I mean, we see it every day, right? Like it's an achievement, it's an accomplishment. So you kind of want to brag about it a little bit. And so that created this initial, like, super powerful word of mouth that we weren't necessarily even expecting it to take off that quickly, because I think the one thing we didn't anticipate was how quickly and frequently people were going to come back to do it again, because they really just kind of got, it really became a bit of a buzz. So I think that definitely, lends itself to the early success. And then I also think, it was right after the crash of 2008. And it was a time where people were getting a little bit, there was a lot of uncertainty in terms of where to put your money and your resources and how to invest. And I think even back in those days, before the word wellness was even a thing, people really did start to kind of invest in themselves, because that was the safest bet. And so doing something that had really measurable results and that was making you feel really good and was, having a great environmental impact because you're eating less meat and processed food. It was just, it was kind of a zeitgeist moment. It was people, learning about all of this new information around health and wellness and longevity that we didn't have access to before. And all of these things combined, I think, really just, created, it was right place, right time.
It was like 2008. It was such it was just such an insane time. And like the panic, like the feeling of panic in the air. I mean, it was just like very intense. And the idea of launching a business at that point was even more absurd because of that crash. And then on top of it, when people lost all of this money and were like homeless and destitute, we're like, oh, on top of that, you're going to pay now $10 for a juice. So it was like kind of absurd when you think about it. I mean, even then, where people were like, I don't know if that's going to fly right now. Like, people are conserving their cash, but it worked. And I think, to the point, yeah, people were definitely investing in themselves. And I think when something traumatic happens, you lose that sense of control, right? And so this is like the ultimate feeling of control. You're like, no, okay, this is my health. This is what I'm going to do with it. This is my body. Like, so it was a very interesting moment, how those two things kind of shook hands.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And it's almost like hearing you describe that time and how people wanted to invest in themselves in a way kind of mirrors what I feel like we've seen a lot over the last 2 years as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of parallels. Yeah.
How would you say, or what do you think is the difference between how people wanted to invest in themselves then during that time period versus now?
I think it's very similar.
Yeah.
I think it's very similar. It's a whole new wave. We have so many more tools now, which is another big point of difference between that moment, why it was so successful, and now. I mean, there was no plant-based. People weren't doing that. There weren't that many options. So this was kind of this is very anchoring for a lot of people. And now we have so many choices, right? We've got all of these services. Everyone knows what it means to be vegan and plant-based and eat less meat. And we all understand the benefits of nutrition and how it does affect our health. This is another kind of rare opportunity for us, and odd timing. It's like we only launched businesses. It was like a global pandemic or like, a record-breaking crash. But yes, you do see the data like very clearly, just like Google searches and what people are looking for, and the fact that they are all trying to take these preventative measures, right? So it's this sort of realization now. I think we've had this big shift where we understand, I think, as Westerners, for the first time, that there is no magic bullet, right? You actually have to anticipate these things and you have to prepare for them. And the things that you do every day, every little bit of prevention, I mean, what is it? Worth a pound of cure? What is that saying? But it's true. And I think we're all catching on to that now. I think there are a lot of parallels between these two moments, between Blueprint and Earth and Star and with the pandemic.
So whereas I think, everyone knows now what a cleanse is, I saw that term and I didn't really know what that meant. So first, break that down for us. What is a functional mushroom company?
The fungi kingdom is its own kingdom. It is neither plant nor animal nor bacteria. And it's huge. It's a huge kingdom, and it's got a lot of powerful benefits. And so what we focus on basically a handful of mushrooms that have been identified as having adaptogenic benefits, which means that they're constantly trying to bring you into balance, and they have, sort of this state of homeostasis. If you're familiar with ashwagandha, that's an adaptogen. So functional mushrooms are not dissimilar. They have similar benefits, and they are constantly, if you take your immune system, for example, if you're running too high, they're going to bring you down. If it's not supported enough, they're going to kind of bring you up. So in the past few years, we've identified about 15 or so that have these adaptogenic capabilities. So we use mushrooms like lion's mane, reishi, chaga, cordyceps. Maybe some of those sound familiar. Shiitake. And so basically across the board, what they do is the common denominator is that they are immunomodulators, right? So they will bring you, as I was saying before, into balance and support your immune system, which is a very hot topic right now and has been for the past 2 years. They will support your immune system and modulate it, balance it. What we've done with Earth and Star and functional mushrooms is take all of these incredible benefits from these functional mushroom extracts. We've added it to everyday products that people consume, like chocolate, coffee, gummies, lattes, the list goes on. Yeah, so we just want to make it easy for people to incorporate functional mushroom extracts into their diet on a daily basis.
I definitely don't have a broad knowledge on it. And I think because when I think of mushrooms, like people eat on pizzas, like I hate mushrooms.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and that's kind of where we come in, right? And so that I was saying earlier, we're trying to take things that feel a little bit sort of out there and mysterious, or maybe even off-putting, and translate them in a way that they make sense and that's really approachable. So you're a great example because your level of familiarity is pretty basic, and so there's a whole spectrum going from the humble white button mushroom all the way to psilocybin psychedelic experience mushrooms. And we're kind of in the middle. So this is totally family friendly. It's nothing that's going to take you out of your normal self, and kids like our products and they're completely safe. And I mean, I think the most important part to underscore is that these are extracts, as Zoe was saying. It's not like we're taking a whole mushroom and grinding it up and putting it in your coffee and making you, kind of choke it down. We've taken an extract. There's little to no discernible flavor, depending on the product that you have. And really the whole idea is, as she was saying, with adaptogens in particular, you need to have them in your system over time. So we're just trying to deliver these benefits in things you're already consuming every day, rather than asking you to, add something new to your routine. And the idea is, like, if you already enjoy organic dark chocolate and you have a dark chocolate habit, then why not eat some delicious dark chocolate that also has some benefits to help your gut or to help you concentrate, etc.
That was going to be my next question, as far as like someone who's listening to this, like, if they're like, how do I know this is right for me? And then how much of it do I need to feel the benefits and effects of it, and how often?
So it really is a daily use case. It's not, we're not here, peddling some sort of magic bullet where you're going to eat a piece of chocolate and your whole life is going to change. That's a different kind of mushroom. We really are, again, it's like a vitamin. So it's not necessarily a noticeable effect in day 1 or even day 3. We say, after about 2 weeks, you actually seem to notice a bit more if you stop taking them, specifically, particularly in an example with something like brain fog, because that is, much more sort of, it's harder to detect when you have like issues with your gut, unless you're super tuned into how your system functions, which if you are, then good for you. But yeah, you'll maybe notice improvement in your sleep. We have some that are formulated specifically, some of our products are formulated specifically for skin health. And there's a couple of mushrooms that are sort of known as like nature's hyaluronic acid. And so that's a little dropper, bottle that we use. And I mean, I've been using it for about 2 months and I absolutely noticed a difference in just like elasticity and overall kind of like glowiness. And so again, the idea is, we're really trying to move people off the notion that there are products out there that will just like fix you and keep you fixed for,
Right.
the long term. Anything that promises that is probably, as we like to say, a little bit of shiitake.
How did you both learn about these mushrooms and incorporating them in your daily life? Like, at what point did this become part of your own personal journeys?
Yeah, I mean, thankfully there are a few companies out there that have been at it for a few years, and they've done a pretty good job educating, I think. But like I said, this is something that's been around in traditional Chinese medicine. I mean, for thousands of years, right? It's very new to us. I think a lot of other countries are very hip to functional mushrooms and incorporate them without thinking about it. But this, like anything else, you self-educate, you do the research. Unlike Blueprint, we didn't have that much of a blueprint for what we were doing, but now it's kind of all there. The white paper is there, the science is there. Like I said, it's been used in pharmaceuticals. So, once you understand that the benefits are real and this is actually something that's true, the efficacy is there. The thing that we had to figure out that was most difficult was finding the vehicle for these extracts, right? So finding the products that would make sense and finding a way to make them delicious and convenient. So that was the more complicated part. Everything else was just, research.
Mm-hmm. And Erica, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, echoing what Zoe said, I think it's probably been about, what are we in 2022? So I would say around 15, 16, in just being, the curious wellness seeker that I've always been. I had read about, one of these companies that was making some like powdered packets, like instant coffee kind of thing. And I was curious about it because I was interested in, I've always had trouble with sleep. So I was certainly really interested in chasing down, what was going to be like the next thing that I might try to improve my sleep. And I did a big like gut health, protocol after I had a surgery, because if, anybody who's experienced having, anesthesia in your system, it really totally destroys your gut. And so it was really just kind of always wanting to find the natural alternative to something, and really trying to shy away from like over the counter or pharmaceutical meds if there is an answer in nature for it. And it was just a matter of, doing some reading and listening to whatever interviews I was hearing at the time, and kind of checking out some products to see if they worked for me, and they did. And the more we talked about it, it was like, okay, well, that part, that again, like the easy part is done, and the hard part now is really going to be kind of presenting it in a way that makes sense to people that aren't quite as naturally, sort of inclined to learn about this stuff as we are, and really, simplifying it so that it does actually have an appeal, because there are so many benefits, as Zoe was explaining. There's so many benefits, and there are so many different use cases that we really feel, it's our responsibility to make sure that, as many people as possible understand how these incredible ingredients can really improve your day-to-day life.
It can definitely be a journey for a lot of us as we like find one thing that can lead to the next thing, and like wanting to implement those natural ways of healing in your own life. And I think that's definitely been my journey. So I'm so excited that we're talking about this.
You really do have to be your own test case, because not everything works for everybody, and you have to sort of try a number of things out there to see what is beneficial for you. But once you learn this stuff, it's very hard to discount it and say, oh no, I'm just going to go back to like over the counter, Advil or whatever. It's just, it changes the entire game.
I guess my question is like, so if somebody goes, to the website, like they're interested in this, like that's going to be me. I'm interested. And I'm like, hey, sleep is a thing, or gut health is a thing. Like, is there a way for people to figure out what might be the right mushroom for them?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it will change, I think it's how you use functional mushrooms just depends on the person, what you're going through. But yeah, we have so much to choose from and a lot of information. Yeah.
And we do have, a range of products. Most of them, I will say, contain a blend of several different mushrooms, because there's what's called an entourage effect, where they're all sort of mightier together. So as we were saying, if you're interested in reishi, for example, we don't have one product that is singularly reishi, but we have reishi in a number of our products. And so I think you'll find that in also getting, the lion's mane and the cordyceps into your system, the reishi will probably end up working the hardest, because as we were explaining earlier, the adaptogens, they sound actually magical. It sounds like there's no way this can be true, but it is. They really do help your system just adapt to what it needs and not go overboard anywhere.
So I'm curious what's next for both of you in this business.
What's next? Oh my gosh, can we possibly add anything more to our, we pretty much just launched, or at least that's how we feel. So, I mean, what's next is a lot of educating, it seems, and a lot of having these types of conversations. But yeah, I mean, we're excited. We think the more people who dive into this conversation, this category, the better. It's sort of a rising tide idea. But yeah, it's interesting to see where the fungi space is going to go. We were talking earlier about how there are these different sort of, you've got your psilocybin and all of the great things that are happening therapeutically with that. And then you also have this whole other lane that has to do with harnessing mushrooms, particularly the mycelium, which is the root, to replace plastic, to replace leather. So all of these incredible environmental benefits. They actually identified one mushroom that can literally eat up an oil spill and eat plastic. And then you can eat it and it will actually have benefits. And it's just like, these things sound totally insane, don't they? I mean, it's funny that it's Earth Day. I really think that mushrooms.
Yeah, it is Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Yeah, I think that there's nowhere. They're helping every single area of life right now. So mental health, environment, everyday functionality, immune support. It's kind of mind blowing. So I don't know what's next for us is just like to continue down this path and share this information with as many people as we possibly can.
Awesome. So I always like to ask a health tip from my guests. So if there's something like an actionable tip, maybe something that you do in your own life every day that really just helps you show up as your best self, what would be that thing? Erica, I'll start with you.
Well, okay, so functional mushroom routine aside, because that's, we've covered that. I lately have been super focused on my light exposure. It's, this is one of those things, it's not something that costs a lot of money or requires any level of expertise, but the way that light impacts, everything from your mood to sleep to kind of just how you are able to function throughout the day, is something that there's just, more and more information that's becoming available, and I'm fascinated by it. So I'm making a point every day to get as much unfiltered, like no blue light lenses, no glasses at all, first thing in the morning for like 5 to 10 minutes. And then again, like over the course of the day, and really measuring how it impacts me. And it really makes a huge difference, even just in the first couple of days. So that's a that's a freebie that, everybody can start as soon as we end this recording.
Yeah, absolutely. Zoe?
So I have like a certain amount of vitamins that are in tincture form specifically, because I can basically add it very sneakily to my kids' food. So for example, this morning, my son, who is obsessed with waffles, I don't know where this came from, but it's like game over, the world is ending if he doesn't eat waffles every damn day, which is like insane to me. And I'm like, oh my God, if this is actually going to happen. And so this actually triggered this sort of strategy. And I was like, okay, fine. It's going to be a little Trojan horse. I'm going to turn this waffle into a Trojan horse. And I just have been like squeezing, because most of them are clear, but I'll like squeeze like vitamin D3, K2 on there. I'll add some B12 because he just like never eats meat. I think he's got some iron issues, some energy issues, whatever. I will go to town on those waffles, and I'm just like with my dropper, like in a lab.
And then you tell him it's syrup.
And well, I add maple syrup to it, obviously, so it masks it. And it doesn't have any taste for the most part. And then the B12 doesn't have any taste. A lot of people add stevia, which is not cool, but Vimergy is a really good brand if anyone cares. And then my daughter actually loves it because like, so I'll take chlorophyll drops, which if you just put them right in your mouth, it turns your mouth so insanely green. And she just thinks it's like the most hysterical thing in the world. So she's just like opening her mouth like a baby bird, and she thinks she's like the Grinch. And so I don't know, I get some pretty interesting vitamins into my kids very sneakily through the magic of drops, which is just my tip.
Well, it is magic because you're not even using candy, which is the preferred form factor.
Exactly.
And, you know, you save the gummies until you're adult, and then you eat our mushroom gummies.
Oh yeah, no, they love our mushroom gummies. I mean, look at this. This is my desk. Like, they literally will come in here, find this chocolate, and just whack the whole thing. They're obsessed with the mushroom chocolate.
Is there anything else before we get to all the where to find you and social handle stuff that you wanted to add that I didn't ask you?
Yeah.
I think one thing that's important, and I'll make it like not super sciencey and long-winded, but because there is sort of this rising tide of mushroom companies out there, and we are very, very specific about the integrity of our ingredients, and a lot of other companies are not necessarily that focused on it, which really does a disservice to the whole biz. So I think the most important thing when you're looking at mushroom products as a supplement to your diet is to make sure that the words fruiting body exist on the ingredients someplace, and it does not say mycelium. And so the difference between those two things is that mycelium is actually the root structure that kind of grows under the ground and under the soil, and it is a part of the mushroom, but it's essentially the roots. It's used for, it's amazing as a sustainable material, and great for like creating vegan leather and packaging and all sorts of things like that. But the actual wellness benefits that you really need if you are looking for, you know, the health experience is in what's called the fruiting body. And that just literally means the body that fruits out of the ground, the actual mushroom itself. And so we are like sticklers about this because there's a lot of confusion and disinformation or misinformation out there. And we just want to make sure that people understand that you're allowed to say mushroom if you're using mycelium, which is a little shady because essentially it's just kind of ground up powder that has no wellness benefits. And sometimes it even has grain in it because you actually have to cultivate it on a grain. So again, fruiting body versus mycelium, very specific. And that's an important thing that we like to touch on anytime we're doing a little bit of this 101.
Yeah, no, that's great. Awesome information. Thanks for sharing that. Zoe, anything else that you'd like to share?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you both have been absolutely amazing, and this has been such a great conversation for me, educational, informational, so thank you for that. Lastly, tell everyone where they can find you, learn more about you, connect with you, website, social media, all the things.
Yeah, you can go to earthandstar.com. You can go to at Earth and Star Co for Instagram, and then TikTok.
Ooh.
What's our TikTok? We're just getting our
Check
TikTok
out our one video.
Check out our one video.
Well, at the time of this airing, you are going to have many more on the TikTok. So
no, we are getting on that TikTok train. It's very exciting. I don't know how to find it, but wait, what is our handle on TikTok? Is it just
Earth and Star Co?
Okay, same.
Earth and Star Co. Perfect. And we'll make sure to link to all of that below. This has been awesome. Thank you so much for the valuable information.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I hope you learned as much as I did about functional mushrooms, the benefits to your health, and actually what they are. I really enjoyed this conversation with Erica and Zoe. They are a wealth of knowledge in the health and wellness industry. And honestly, I cannot wait to try some of their goodies. So if you want to learn more about Earth and Star, go on below in the show notes. All of their information, links, social media, website, all the good stuff is down below. And also connect with them. And hey, connect with me if you haven't already. I don't know why not. I'm all the places. You can find me on the LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, which is where I'd love you to subscribe. All that's down below as well, because I'd hate for you to miss out. We come back every other week with new episodes. So until I see you back in 2 weeks from now, stay happy, stay healthy.